Good morning, folks. Councilman Rasmussen here, coming to you with my update from our meeting on Monday, June 5th for the Town Council. As always, fun things first. So saw a lot of people out at the First Friday event on the June 2nd. The band that played down there on Main Street, street was shut down. A lot of people. It was a great night, dancing and drinks and food. So if you didn't get a chance to make it out there, make sure you put the next one. So we're doing this all through the summer. So there'll be July, August, and September. First Fridays. The weather was quite nice for this one. Cooled down a little bit. So hopefully we get the same thing. But come out and check out the First Fridays. Always a good time. Biggest thing coming up, June 17th, Smyrna at Night, almost here. Putting the finishing touches on all of that. But if you are coming downtown that day, come down early. Streets are going to be getting shut down very early in the day to make sure all the stages and everything can be set up. And then noon to 9 o'clock, I think music is going all throughout town. Lots of vendors, food, drinks, good times. So make sure you put June 17th on your calendar. Just block out the whole day. The whole day. That's what you're going to need. And we'll see you there. So, as far as the actual agenda for last night's meeting, we had quite a bit of stuff. So I will try and hit on everything from there. The updates, general updates from the town. There's a lot of stuff going on with the police department. If you don't follow them on Facebook, make sure you do that too. They've got the dodgeball tournament, but got a little update. They had the fishing tournament a couple of weeks ago when you were out of town. My daughter wanted to do it. Though based on the pictures I saw, some kids pulled in some pretty decent sized fish. So they've got their Citizens Policing Academy, and then there's going to be their summer academy coming up. So a lot of things happening at the police department for folks here in our community. Make sure you check that out if you've got any interest, or share it out to folks who might share some interest in it. So on to the agenda items. We started the meeting with, we had a couple of different public hearings for a few items. I'll talk about those when we actually get to them as agenda items. The old business, we didn't have any big public presentations. So we had, as far as old business items on the agenda, at the last meeting, we made some changes to some of the structures for our authorities, commissions, and commissions. The biggest one is getting rid of our finance and our utilities committee, and we are combining those together in what we're going to call a board working session. So the second board meeting of every month, which this month will be on June 19th, we are going to have an additional hour of time at the beginning of the meeting where we are going to go over the financial components and the utility components that are normally covered during those other committee meetings. It's one of those areas where all of the items from those always come to council. There's questions from council that are tough to get answered with so many different committees to attend, so everybody doesn't get to go to the finance and utility committee meetings. The idea here is we're going to combine them at one point. There are really things where council action is most of what we see, and we're going to try out a new structure to deal with those. So we just sort of codified that a little bit, and that there weren't really any other changes to the committees and commissions after that. The second of the old business items was a action on an impact fee study for the fire and ambulance service. So this is something that I've been pushing on for the last couple of months. The town collects as a pass-through impact fees on all of the new construction that happens in town. So if somebody builds a new house or someone builds a new commercial building, there is a number of different impact fees. Some of them are impact fees for the police department, impact fees for the parks. And we also do, and those are ones that the town collects because we run the parks and we run the police department. And those impact fees have to be tied towards capital needs. Right, so the capital needs of the police department, the building needs, the cars, those sort of things. The parks, obviously equipment, upkeep, those sorts of things are capital costs. You're not paying for staffs or programs. We also collect some impact fees for the fire service, the ambulance service, and the school district that are pass-throughs. The town collects them and just sends each quarter, here's the amount we collected, and we send it on to the fire, ambulance, or school district. Every fee that we collect has to be tied to a defined need in the community. And one of the things that has not been done maybe ever, or at least in a very long time, for the fire service and for the ambulance service, is actually creating or doing a study to better define what those needs are, to make sure that our impact fees are accurately tied to the capital needs, the future capital needs of those services. So if we need to buy more fire trucks or another ambulance or build substations, we need to know that the capital impact fees we're collecting are enough to help cover the town's portion of those. Obviously, everything here is tricky because, like the ambulance service covers Smyrna and Clayton and part of Newcastle County and part of Kent County. And so there's a lot of players that are involved, but we need to do our part to make sure that our impact fees are accurate. There's a study that we're going to do. The cost of the study is about $13,300. And what we're going to do is we're going to split it between a third to the town, a third to the firehouse, and a third to the ambulance service. And obviously, the ambulance service and the firehouse, they're the ones who end up getting the money. For the town, we rely on them to provide very necessary services, so it makes sense for the town to contribute to making sure that these capital impact fees are as accurate as possible. That was supported by the town council. It's also been approved by the ambulance service and last night by the firehouse, and so that is going to move forward. It's going to take probably about 8 weeks to do the study, and then we'll have to actually craft a zoning or an ordinance change to make the changes to the fees that are collected. So all told, it's probably a 4 to 6 month long process before it's fully implemented. But we made the decision to move forward with that last night. That was the old business items. On the new business agenda items, so there was a short discussion about the relocation of the Sam Potts marker. There's a marker for veteran Sam Potts that has been in front of Town Hall. There was a tree dedicated to him, one of the big hollies. Those trees were taken out, and the marker remains. There had been a question of whether or not that marker should be relocated out to the Veterans Memorial area that we have at the Municipal Park at George Wright Park. Short conversation, because I think in the end it came down to we need to really find out what the family's wishes are. Would they prefer that it stay in front of Town Hall? There's going to be a new dogwood tree planted there, so maybe rededicate that tree to him as the previous one had been. Or would they prefer that it's moved out with the other veterans memorials out at the park? So to be determined, but the start of that conversation. Second item on the new business was around digitizing, scanning the planning and zoning file. So we have now, I think everyone agreed it was something between 4 to 5 times we have relocated the planning and zoning files as the planning and zoning office has moved from Town Hall to various other places, and we're moving them now out to the Public Works area. There were multiple trailer loads of file boxes of all of the old planning and zoning files. So this would be the plot plans for different properties, the building plans when construction is happening, all that kind of stuff. Going back quite a ways is in paper form. Some of it over 100 years old. And it's very, very tricky. One, every time you move something, things can get lost. And two, the chance of things getting destroyed or not put back correctly is very high. And we don't want to lose this. This is the history of our community. So there's a proposal put forward to bring in a company to actually scan and digitize all of those files. It would make it faster for our town staff to be able to pull up accurate information, but it's not an inexpensive thing. Something in that likely $80,000 to $100,000 number in order to get all of this done. The action from council proposed by the mayor was that we reallocate the funds that we had removed from the RDA's budget line item to this process. So that's $100,000. It's obviously a big item. We're going to have to go out and get multiple quotes to see, what this is truly going to cost, and then we'll select one of those. But conceptually, I think it's a very smart thing to do. It's going to save on our staff time in the long run. and ultimately it makes sure that we don't lose this wealth of information that exists in the Planning and Zoning Office. They call them the street files because pretty much for every single street and every address, if anything has been done to that property, there's a file that exists that sort of is the history of that. So, I'll let you know when we actually select somebody and decide to move forward with that, but it's probably a month or two away till we have that process begun. We had an action for my Main Street Coordinating Board. We formally appointed Carol Binns to that. She's been serving on the Arts Subcommittee with me, and she's now going to be a full member. Carol lives on Main Street, serves on a number of other committees in town, so we're happy to have her as a full member of the Main Street Coordinating Board. We had a couple of sewer and street items. So one of them, Locust Street sewer related concern. There is, folks might remember, about almost 2 years ago, we had a sewer line collapse on Locust Street, and it was a big problem. Sewer backed up into people's basements. What was determined the problem here is that there is a force main from the prison that pushes their sewer into our system. And then it uses the force main pushes into our gravity fed system, which then flows into the county pump station that's over there by like Brickworks and the car wash. The sewer line collapse, I think, exacerbated a lot of problems. One is that the sewer treatment on the part of the prison probably isn't what it needs to be because it eroded our pipes far faster than it should have. So there's some legal questions about ownership of who is truly responsible. Is Kent County responsible for it? Is the state responsible for it from the principal and the town, and what responsibility is ours? In the end, that entire force main is going to be replaced so that from the prison to Kent County's transfer station is basically a direct line. But in the meantime, it's still that force main dumps into our gravity sewer, and it does so at a location where there's a manhole there, and it gives off, when they're pumping their system out, it gives off some pretty noxious gases. If you've ever been over there, you can smell it. So the idea is trying to come up with at least a short-term solution until that entire line is going to be replaced. We already have that as part of our budget. It's in process. It's the third phase of a big project on that side of town. It's out for bid right now. The short-term solution is to add in some carbon filters that could hopefully help reduce that the smell, the sulfur dioxide smell that comes out of that manhole when they're doing their pumping over. It's a couple $1,000 investment. We're going to put it in place and hope that it is. It's obviously not the right fix, it's not the long-term fix, but hopefully it's a short-term fix that can help address some of the needs for the people who live in that area having to deal with that unfortunate smell. We got a couple of updates from our town staff on paving pieces, Lake Como Woods and Ashland. Both of these are communities that have either just recently finished building out or have not, or are almost finished building out. There are obviously concerns of folks who live in that area because the developers have not finished the roadways. They have to put in the base coat, they put in the sewer and all of the things that live underneath the road. They have to put in the curbing, but some of these things have been under construction for decades, and that the top coat that makes a nice, smooth surface to drive on, you don't have to avoid manhole covers and things like that, has not been done. Both of those are very near completion. Both of those developers and builders have committed to timelines that gets that work done, the repairs that are necessary, and then the top coat done really by the end of the summer. Ideally a little bit faster than that. Some of it should be starting up later on this month, but recognizing that there are always delays, our hope is that by the end of the summer, those paving projects have moved forward in earnest. And obviously the people in those communities will be very happy about that. The mayor brought up and sort of initiated a conversation about customer deposits. We have deposits for utilities. There are likely some deposits that have been made that for one reason or another were not given back to folks. The town can't keep any of this money. Deposits is not money that the town gets to utilize. We just have to keep them separate. And so that we need to do sort of a little bit of an internal audit of all of the different deposits that we have and find out whether any of those should have been returned but weren't. And if not, then they have to be escheated to the state because we're not allowed to keep the money. So just an initial conversation about that. We then get into the ordinances of the night. So we had one ordinance that was pushed forward from our town staff to change some of the wastewater calculations that we use. What we determined was, in doing the last major study about all of our water, sewer, and electric calculations, was that we're actually probably significantly over-designing some of our water and sewer infrastructure, because our calculation is made an assumption of a lot more outflow per RDU or EDU, sorry, equivalent dwelling units. It's a house. That we are assuming a lot more outflow than actually happens. We obviously want to over-design them some amount to accommodate for growth and things, but far over-designing them increases costs to the town. So they wanted to make a change to the calculation that is used to make it that we use 250 gallons per day as an outflow calculation. There's no objection. It's just, being more specific and using data in a better way to do long-term planning. So we approved that. We had one application to rezone another piece of property because of it was not in compliance with the comprehensive plan. This is a piece that's right here on my street, on West Commerce Street. The applicant wants to build a duplex residential piece or building on that property, and in order for them to be able to do so, it needed to be brought up to the standards that are in the comprehensive plan. So pretty formulaic. It has to be dozens of these by now as we bring more and more properties up to where they're supposed to be in their zoning ordinances. There was one additional change that we did to the zoning code around eliminating the distance requirement for personal services in the central commercial zoning district. So for some reason in our code, there is a personal service has to be at least 250 feet away from another personal service. So personal service in most cases, what we're talking about are barbershops or hair salons, but it could include laundry services and a variety of other, things that people need. There is one exception to this where that the council wanted to keep the distance requirement of 250 feet, and that is for massage parlors. Massage parlors, there are absolutely legitimate massage parlors. We also know that there have been at least 2 instances in our town where people have opened massage parlors that are essentially fronts for drugs and prostitution, and those have been shut down, but an ordinance like this helps to provide some restrictions associated with that. However, it doesn't make sense if somebody wants to open a barber shop and it happens to be 248 feet away from a hair salon. So we removed that restriction for most uses on these personal services in the central commercial district, which is really Main Street, Commerce Street, Market Street Plaza, the core of the older downtown. And then the last big item that was on the agenda, we talked about this probably this time last month. The Smyrna School District brought their Category A site plan application to the town for the new middle school or intermediate school. The plan here is a 66,000 square foot, 2-story intermediate school. It's going to be built right off of Rabbit Chase Lane, pretty much directly across Rabbit Chase Lane from Sunnyside Elementary School. It's a 13.65 acre parcel. We've seen now a couple of versions of this. You'll never be able to read this, but I can show you what we were given last night. Right, this is a map. Sort of. You've got this is it's all backwards for my. Oh, this is over here is where Rabbit Chase is. Here's the new school. Lots of parking. the town obviously wants to make sure that these are done as well as possible, and we try and get to ask and answer a lot of questions. How's the traffic going to move? Who's responsible for the roads? When is everything going to be done? The school district has been great, between the property owner, the school district, the architect, and the town. They've been working on this for quite some time. There's still a lot of steps to go through. They have to combine all the properties. There's a lot of legal agreements. But the goal is, from the school district, their hope is to have this building ready to be occupied for the fall of the 2025-2026 school year. So coming up quick. That's a lot to get done in the next 2 years to be able to open a building. But they've got a good plan, and the town approved the site plan application to move forward, and that's the next step from our end. It's the last major approval we'll do for this. We'll get to see a few things as it comes down the road, but mostly now it's in the hands of the school district, the builder, and some of our administrative staff at the town to keep things going forward. So those were the big items. We had some public comments and some questions about, there was a big fire in Ashland. A lot of people know this. There was questions to make sure that there was enough capacity in the fire hydrant system, and questions about why some of them are different colors. Things that we needed to, sort of just chat about. And so our staff was there to answer some questions for people from that community. Overall, a lot of stuff on the agenda, decently long meeting, but we move forward on a few things and a few things to come. So that's the meeting. Remember, June 17th, all day, just plan for the whole day. Smyrna at night, and then we're going to follow that up with the first Fridays that are coming up through July, August, and September. Hope everyone is doing well. Obviously, if you have any questions or anything I can help with, always reach out. And have a wonderful Tuesday. Take care.